to start working on the brakes. Previous owner told me that this brake drum was stuck when they tried to move it one time. So he had to get the drum off. So he chipped some pieces off of the drum. Told me he busted it, but looking at this, it don't look that bad. He said he was going to get another one, but I think this one will be okay. I don't see any cracks going all the way through to the braking surface, so I think it'll be fine. And these shoes still have a lot of life on them. There's a pair of new shoes in the trunk, in the box, but I don't know which corner they go to, because this has drum brakes all the way around. First, I'm going to put this drum back on, and then I'm going to see if I can bleed the brakes. See if I get lucky, and that's all I need to do to get the brakes working. Now, to get that drum on there, I had to run the brake adjuster in. It goes on the bottom of the brake shoes. This one's off of a different vehicle. It was a spare one I had laying in the back of the shop. But they're all pretty much the same. This piece here spins freely on this end, and it comes right off when you take it out, or it's supposed to. So I took that one off. I sprayed it down, cleaned it up, got it working good. This piece was seized. This threads on here, and it's got left-handed threads, so it's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. This one's righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. And I had to take some vice grips on here and here and spread it down with some PB Blaster and worked it all the way off, blew it out real good. Sprayed some more PB Blaster down inside it, washed out the rust, got it working, and that's where I could run it all the way in with my fingers. And put it back on, and I run it in a little extra so I could get the drum on, and I can always adjust it later. It has an automatic adjuster built on them, but I'd rather go ahead and get it about where it needs to be to start with. But so I got that done. I got the drum back on, and should be fine. There's a little rust on the inside surface of the drum, but it'll wear off as go to use it, and it'll be fine for now. After I get it running and driving good, I will go through and double check all the brakes and everything, but for now I just want to get it running, driving, and stopping. So now we're going to try and bleed these brakes, and the manual brakes. It's manual steering on this car too, but anyways, I've got to pull the cap off of the master cylinder, see what it looks like inside. Hopefully there's fluid in there. If not, hopefully it's not too nasty and rusty and dirty and trashy. So pop that cap off, look at it. I'll get my brake bleeder back here and crack open this bleeder valve. This is my pneumatic brake bleeder. It's real simple to use, and it's not very expensive. If you do a lot of brake work and you don't have somebody to help you pump the brakes, this is ideal, and it's actually quicker. All you do, you crack your bleeder valve open, plug this onto your bleeder valve, you hook air hose in here, and when you pull the trigger, the air flows through here, and the low pressure of the air flowing through will pull suction through this cup, and this cup has this line here that pulls from the bleeder valve. It's real simple to use, not very expensive, and I highly recommend it. I used it several times already, As you can see, it's got brake fluid in the bottom of it. It's old nasty brake fluid, and works really well. Well, it's not ideal. But maybe okay. I'm gonna see if I can vacuum this out. It's got some rust in there, and it's dry. Now that may not have been rust, that could have been just dried up brake fluid. Little hole in the front was plugged up. I just stuck the hose vacuum cleaner in there, pumped the pedal a couple of times, and it sucks it right out. So I think this is going to be okay. Surface of this is a little rusty, but I think it'll be alright. It doesn't have to make a perfect seal. Maybe a little bit of fluid splash up and seep out the edges, but it shouldn't be bad. Alright, let's see if we can bleed some brakes now. Now the only thing about using this brake bleeder, I said it's real simple, and it is, but you have to be careful. Keep an eye on your fluid level in your master cylinder, because if you pull too much fluid through here, it'll empty the bowl in the master cylinder, and then you'll be pulling air again. You have to start all over. So pull a little fluid, check your fluid level in the master cylinder, put a little more fluid, check it again, add if you need to, so on and so forth. Okay. Now that happens sometimes. Snapped off the bleeder valve. It didn't even budge, it just broke off. So, now we got to deal with that. I may just let this one go for now. If I can get the front brakes, it's mainly all you need. For now, I will get them working though. Well, I'd already filled the master cylinder, so I decided to go ahead and try pumping the brake pedal, see if that'd do any good. And sure enough, it pumped up and it's holding solid. So I may have brakes the way it is. If I do, it's going to be close to a miracle. But it's more likely that something else is locked up somewhere or lines clogged. But I'm going to try it and see if it'll actually stop now. So I've got all the tools out of the way. I got the gas tank strapped down. I'm just going to back up here a little bit, test the brakes a little bit, see how it does. Well, she has some brakes. The left front is hanging a little bit. Could be that rubber hose going from the frame to the wheel cylinder. Those, when they get old, the inside of them swells. It can mash and push fluid to the brakes, but the inside swelled up, it doesn't let the fluid return back up the line, taking pressure off of the brakes. Still got to find out why it's smoking so bad. I'm really hoping it's not oil. I'm going to change the oil. I'm going to put in a thicker oil. I'm going to put in Rotella 15W40. And thicker oil should help the rings seal better. Plus, there's all kinds of additives and everything that's gone down from when I sprayed the spark plugs and the cylinders and everything. And other stuff is down in the oil, and the oil is over full too, so that could be part of it. Could be just that it's got too much oil in it and it's coming up around the rings. But that's do a burnout now. Next up, see if I can get the oil changed, and I'm gonna keep testing it out here and there and adjust the brakes. I'll fix the brakes as I need to. I'll probably go ahead and start ordering parts for the brakes. But she does have brakes now. So what I need to do now is change the oil and take it for a test drive. Just going to test drive it around the yard a little bit, see how it does. Gonna let it sit for a little bit, let whatever oil just circulated drain back down, and I'm gonna jack it up, change the oil. I'm gonna go ahead and unhook the battery. It's been hooked up all this time. Haven't been any fires, smoke, so I'm gonna leave it unhooked when I go to change the oil. And go ahead and pull the coil wire. Just for safety reasons, it may be a little overkill, but better safe than sorry, you know. You don't want somebody coming along, turning the key, which here, I don't think nobody ever would. But you never know. It's happened before, so we're gonna make sure it's not gonna happen while I'm underneath it. Don't see any metal shavings, so that's good. Okay, I'm gonna put this CarQuest filter on here. I wanted wicks, but the parts store I went to didn't have wicks. This is CarQuest. They said it's comparable to Motorcraft, and I think it'll work. I told them I didn't want no flam paper filter crap. This one may have a paper filter, but I think it'll be all right. I'll change the oil in it, you know, after I run it for a few months, and I'll put a good wicks on it then. We're using a Shell Rotella 15W40. That's normally used in diesel engines. If you're using regular oil for this old engine, don't know how old the engine is. I don't know if it's got flat tappet cam or rollers or what. So if you use regular oil, you need to put in the additive, the zinc additive, or it's going to burn up your camshaft and your lifters. But this has all the additives already in it. It's a little thicker, so it should help the ring seal a little better too. And if your old oil is good, you can drop a hit on your finger, lubricate this seal. If you don't lubricate this seal, it's going to pop off and then you're going to leak, and then you're going to have troubles. But this old oil has other additives in it. It smells real gassy. I think the carburetor that I had on it, that came with it, was flooding the engine too much and washing the cylinders. And all that excess gas wound up in the oil pan. So I'm going to use some of the new oil to lubricate this seal, and then I know it'll be good. And if you want to know how much to use, you can't use too much, but you can use too little. You want it good and shiny all the way around. I'm going to pre-fill this part of the way. This goes in at an angle, so I can't fill it full. But I am going to put some in it. Now, the oil filter, you just want hand tight. May look like I was really tightening down, but my hands are slippery, and I was only able to get just a small turn once it touched the surface. It started to snug. Just give it some small turns, and once it touches the surface and you feel it starting to grip, about quarter to a half a turn past that should be plenty. If you're not sure, run it a while, check, see if it leaks. If it's leaking, tighten it just a little bit more, maybe another quarter of a turn. But you don't want to over tighten it. Because if you over tighten it, the threads will seize, and then you're going to have a hard time getting it off to change it in the future. And it's always a good idea to write the date with the mileage. Since mileage on this one, I have no idea what it is. I'll write the date on the oil filter. I'll use a Sharpie. You can use a paint pen. Another thing you can do is save the box. The oil filter came in, write the date on it, put it on a shelf. Remember where you put it. And that way, if you start wondering, well, how long has it been since I changed the oil? Flip open the box, right there it is. So I bought these gauges here. Equus gauges. Comes with oil pressure, temperature, and voltmeter gauges. Comes with all the fittings and the hoses and everything you need. It's not terribly expensive, about $40, $45. Maybe a cheap set, but it's better than just the light in the dash that don't know whether or not it's working. This will let you know what your pressure actually is. You'll know how good your engine is. And just because it will show you got good oil pressure don't mean everything else in your engine is fine, but it's a good sign. Same thing with temperature. The main two things I want from these gauges is temperature and oil pressure. Voltmeter I can install that later. But I can always come out here and check with the multimeter, make sure I'm charging, then I know I'm good. Which I already did, and I know it's good. Let's crank it, see if we got oil pressure, see if I installed that right. I think it did. Showing about 70 pounds of oil pressure. And it's not fully warmed up, so it'll drop a little bit after it warms up, but it shouldn't drop much. So that is really, really good. Now let's check the oil level. The oil pressure is really, really good. So I'm happy about that. show you guys what I did with my oil pressure gauge. And I'll show you something I learned about this car. Okay. Start it up. Now, oil pressure works good. There were 2 holes in this dash right here for gauges or air vents or something. But the dash, the foam was all rotted, and this plastic on top of here is all cracked. It's all nasty. I pulled some of this nasty old stuff away when I went to put in my gauges. And I was checking to see what all switches and stuff work. I went to check my windshield wipers. And what's this? Turn the key on. So apparently there's an issue with the wiring. Something is crossed up somewhere. Yeah, I had it running a while ago, and I was checking my switches, and I turned the windshield wiper switch, and I heard the starter go, wee! Made that awful racket. Sounded like the car is screaming. And I don't think it hurt the starter. It still works fine. It's a brand new starter too, dang it. But yeah, that's kind of funny. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go through some wiring on here. The battery's been hooked up for quite a while. There's no smoke, don't smell anything, so nothing's shorted out anywhere. And my turn signals, brake lights, and headlights, everything works. There's 2 marker lights, one on the front corner there and one on the back corner back here. They're not working, but it's probably just bulbs. Everything else works. So, I've got to figure that out, because I'm pretty sure I will need wipers someday. And I figured out my starter issue with my wiper switch. When you would turn the switch on, turn the wipers on, it would crank the car. So I got to looking, and this plug right here was unplugged, and this was plugged into here. And I looked, and these color wires here match on these 2, but not on this one. So I got to figure in the location where this one went was the wipers. And so I had this plugged in here. So I'm assuming this was the wiring for the wiper motor. And this, I believe, went to a neutral switch or something like that. Neutral park switch on the transmission. But this would have originally had a 3-speed, so it would have been just a neutral switch. So I got my multimeter and tested. I found which one got 12 volts when I turned the key to start position. And then I used a jumper wire to jump from hot. So one of these posts here is hot all the time. So I used a jumper wire to go from it to this other one, and just barely touched it, and it engaged the starter. So they were right across from each other, and I just found this plug here, fit right in there just right, and put it in there. Now it starts with the key and the wiper motors working. And with the wiper motor, the linkages and all are real stiff, so I need to probably pull this off the cowl here and get in there and see if I may be able to reach in through here and just squirt some PB Blaster on them. All right, well, I think I'm going to take it out and test the brakes out. I'm just going to take it around the yard. I'm not going to take it on the road at all until I feel like it's safe. Now, you might be saying, you know, car been sitting 15 years and brakes just automatically work. That doesn't happen. Well, normally it doesn't. But the wheel cylinders were stuck. At least two of them were. One of them popped loose once already. And then yesterday I was mashing the brake pedal and another one popped loose. So I'm hoping that it was two front ones. So maybe I've at least got front brakes, which would be really good. Why were they so easy to get popped loose and push the pedal? Maybe somebody was working on this car and did the brakes and, you know, kind of, you know, lost interest in working on it. So they let it set. Was going to get back to it. Something came up. You never know. But anyways, you know, it's unusual for the brakes to be able to pop loose and start working like these did. These probably still need to be worked on. Probably still need wheel cylinders replaced. But if they'll work a little bit for now, just enough to test drive it a little bit, I'm gonna work with what I got. Before I put it in daily driver condition, it will have new brakes, new wheel cylinders, new brake shoes, everything all the way around. And eventually, I would like to restore this car, and when I do that, I'm going to change out the rear end, and I'm going to put disc brakes on the front. I'm going to switch it to a 5-lug setup instead of 4-lug. But that's all in the future. For now, I want to get it going the way it is. So let's see what these brakes will do. All right, now the camera may get a little shaky, but I think it'll be all right. Let's take the brake pedal out again. A little bit of sponginess, but not too bad. I think it'll be all right. I've got at least one wheel, brakes working. Still got one front wheel. just that one wheel, left front, locking up. Kicked in then. Maybe the adjusters just needed to run up some. And I'm gonna get out and look, see which tires were sliding. Just this left front. Safe enough. Take up the road just a little bit. Just gonna go up to my sister's house, turn around in her driveway, come right back. Okay, left front still grabbing. Check my fluid in my master cylinder, jack it up, check the brakes on both sides. See if we can get some good brakes on it. Now, I said I wasn't going to take it on the road till I felt safe. This little road barely has any traffic, and I knew if I was to see a car coming, I could aim to the right without touching the brake, and it would have been just fine. But since there was no car coming, I knew it was safe to hit the brakes, even if it pulled to the left. Okay, well, I went to check my mail, and look in the road, see if I left any good bike marks, which I didn't. I didn't see none. Of course, those tires are pretty slick, so and pretty old, so they're probably just too hard of a compound or too old to leave good bike marks. They're pretty thin too. But anyways, lost the grease rag in the road and my gas cap for my gas can. Luckily, I was able to find it. It was laying right there in the middle of the road, just like that. Now the bolt, that's the bolt I've been using to put in the end of the gas line when I pull it out of the can. It stayed right there. I haven't touched it. It didn't move. But for safety reasons, I'm going to put them up here so they don't get lost. I noticed a little smoke. You can probably see it in the video. Actually, I know you can because I just took a look at it. Some smoke coming out. I think it's coming out of the blow-by here. Or coming out the PCV valve. So I may need to replace this. It's just smoke from the oil being hot. It's not smoking out the back anymore. Maybe just a little bit, but putting that heavier oil in it and fresh oil change helped fix that. Helped them rings seal up better. But this is all crusty. That PCV valve may be bad, but I can get to that. It's still letting enough pressure out around it to where it won't hurt anything. If you don't have some kind of vent for your crankcase pressure, it will cause it to run bad. It can even harm the engine. But it is breathing a little bit because you can see the smoke coming out from where it's blowing by out of here. But I think I may plug off that line there and just put a breather on there. Maybe the filter will keep the smoke from coming out, but still allow it to relieve its pressure. Okay, so now I got to figure out what's going on with the brakes. Got it running good enough to where I need to be able to drive it further distances and for longer periods of time to be able to troubleshoot anything else that might be wrong with the car. But to do that, I've got to have brakes. So first off, I'm going to pull the top off the master cylinder, see how much fluid is still in it after I've gotten at least one or two wheel cylinders to break loose. Then I'm going to check the right front because it doesn't seem to be working at all. The left front seems to be the only one that's actually stopping the car. As it hit the brakes, it wants to go that way. So I'll check all that out, see where we're at. I may be able to get away with bleeding the brakes. I broke the bleeder valve off of the right rear when I put the drum back on it, and won't be able to bleed that one. But mainly, if I can get the front brakes working, it's mainly what you need to stop a car. Because of weight, distribution, and physics and everything, the front wheels need to be able to stop whether the back ones are working or not. If your back ones catch first, they're going to slide. Because with your back ones, when they lock up, all your weight is in front of them. And they'll pull and lose traction and it'll slide. With your front brakes, and when they're working, you either engage the front brakes and then the weight of the car is behind. Most of the weight of the car is behind the front wheels. So it pushes the front tires down on the ground harder to get better traction to be able to stop the car. Think about it, it makes sense. A lot of times these old bleeder valves, especially if they don't have a cap over the end, will corrode and rust up or get dirt and trash in them. They won't bleed. So went ahead and took the whole thing all the way out. I'm going to see if I can run a wire up through here, through the hole, and clean it out good. Well, I was hoping it would gravity bleed while I was cleaning out the bleeder valve, but it doesn't appear to have done that. So I'm going to put this back in, see if I can bleed it with my bleeding tool, and maybe I'll have brakes on this side then. Still not getting fluid out of it, so I took the bleeder valve all the way out. Started working the pedal some more, so I can get fluid out of it again. I still got no fluid coming out this wheel cylinder. The bleeder valve out, fluid should be just gushing out of it when I hit the pedal. Now, I need to put the rubber line on this side, see if it's getting fluid to that rubber line at least. The brake lines over to here seem to be in pretty good shape. The brake line runs around the firewall and then down through the shock tower, and it looks okay. And if the line had busted, the pedal would have went to the floor and would have never built up pressure again. It's still building up pressure. The lines to the back brakes must be good because they haven't busted either. Don't appear to be leaking. So I may be able to get away with just my rubber lines, which there should be one on each front wheel, and there should be one going from the frame to the rear end, because it has to be flexible for the travel of the suspension in the rear. And then it'll have a metal line going from that to each side. So offhand, probably need 1, 2, 3 rubber lines, which they have to be special made. You have to order them, or you can get them at a parts store. So the 3 rubber lines, all 4 wheel cylinders, and I may as well go ahead and put all 4 new set of brake shoes. Before I order brake shoes, I'll look at these and see what they look like. They may be okay. I know that right rear was okay. Brake shoes still had a lot of life left in them. And they're riveted on, not glued on. The glued on shoes, after they sit for a long time, that glue will turn loose and the pad will just come right off the shoe. But these are riveted on, so they should be okay, as long as there's enough of the pad left. And that one still had quite a bit left. I'll check the other 3, see what they look like. But it's looking like all 4 wheel cylinders and the 3 rubber lines at least. Okay. I noticed a couple of times a fuel pump didn't seem to be pumping. I'd have it running and watch this filter right here, which is between my fuel supply and my fuel pump, and it pumped fine for a while, and just noticed just a couple of times it wasn't pulling any fuel. So I thought maybe my hose wasn't down in the can good. Moved it around and it still wouldn't work. Pulled the hose out, put my finger on it, and I just barely feel a tiny amount of suction. So I believe fuel pump, either the spring is broken or weakened, or the armature is sticking, or the diaphragm is sticking. So I went out, the same old blue F100 I got some other parts from. I got the fuel pump off of it. It looks different, but I mean, it's a 302, it'll bolt up the same. Probably just a different pressure, flow amount. I think it'll be fine. I'll put it on there and try it, and see what happens. Maybe this carburetor doesn't need as much flow as the 650 Holly that was on it. So we'll put this one on it, see how it runs. Just gotta clean up the old gasket material and see if I've got a gasket for it. I should have one. I got one right there. I see it right now. Okay. I don't even remember where it came from. All right. Well, that will work. Okay. Now we have the fuel pump. Let's see what it'll do. Okay, that fuel pump appears to be working good. So it can be fine. I think what it was doing was when the bowls would fill up, it would shut off the fuel pump, and the other one would stick. Because it actually went dead with me because it ran out of gas yesterday because of that fuel pump. So this one appears to be working good, so we're gonna roll that. Okay, now I've got wheel cylinders and new rubber lines ordered for the brakes. I'm gonna take a chance on the brake shoes being okay and all the hardwire being okay. If they're anything like that right rear was, should be fine. But we'll find out for sure when we go to put the wheel cylinders in. And the rubber lines, because your suspension has to travel, you have a rubber line that goes from the frame to the wheel cylinder on your brake drums. And on disc brakes, you got a rubber line goes from the frame to the caliper. Same purpose. Your rubber line gives you flex for your suspension to travel. And there's one rubber line in the back. Goes from the frame to the rear end, and then it tees off from there, and one line going to one side, one line going to the other side. Since the rear end is one piece, you only need one back there. Alright, well that's going to do it for part 4. As you can see, we're getting closer. A lot of people were commenting in previous videos about what might be wrong with it here and there. All this was done months ago. So whatever you're commenting on, I've probably already figured it out. I do appreciate the help and the advice though. You know, it's everybody just trying to help, and I do appreciate it. But yeah, most of the issues I have gotten straightened out already. But yeah, hopefully the next video will be out next Friday. I'm trying to get in a regular schedule of putting a video out every Friday. So be on the lookout for that. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and that'll let you know when my next video comes out. And y'all take care.